All right, we'll just stick with we'll do the Bivens decision just because we said we did it for the recording and stuff like that. This is the Kentucky General Assembly meeting of September 2024, 7:07 p.m. For all links to past meetings, you can go to the website here, Kentucky Assembly, KentuckyStateNationals.us, and there's playlists of all the General Assembly meetings, militia meetings, drill assembly meetings, and assembly militia meetings. I think I said that, but this is the Bivens decision. This meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agencies present? Additionally, are there any U.S. citizens or citizens of the United States present? Anyone who is here under false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territory of the United States or municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here must fully disclose their presence and purpose now or leave the premises of the call. If they subsequently show up as a federal witness, they are discredited for failure to disclose. And for purposes of liability and not to contract, is there any response to the Bivens decision? I yield the floor.
I'll read the mission statement. Our Kentucky Assembly is dedicated to the restoration of a complete and fully operational land and soil jurisdiction, state and county court system serving the people of Kentucky, the preservation of the national trust, the enrichment of the public law, the upholding of the federal constitution owed to our state and people, the repopulation of our land and soil jurisdiction, the filling of vacated public offices, and the reclamation of our material and intellectual public and private assets. So as far as the coordinator role, I was curious about Austin and getting vetted, how far that had come. I talked to him yesterday. I know he was calling Chris. Sorry, Chris Kelty.
Yeah, I sent out a vetting request yesterday after I talked to Austin to square down what he wanted. So after I got off the phone with him, I sent a vetting request to the vetting committee as for him to be vetted in-house, not at the Continental Marshal Service level, because you as the state coordinator cover that. So he would only be vetted in-house by the Kentucky Assembly with the Clear Checks background, but no need to apply for a Continental Marshal Service background. He is applying for the Jefferson County coordinator position. I yield.
He told me he was going to help me.
May I?
Yes, I'm sorry. He told me he was going to help me. I'm sorry, my mic was on.
Okay. No, so yeah, I'll just say, Mark, Justin, did you receive the audio video scenario vetting that the Tennessee Assembly put together? I have a copy of that along with the SOP. If you don't have it, I can send it over to you. That way you can share what Kentucky's vetting. Okay, you do have it or no?
No, shoot it to me if you don't mind, and I'll forward it on to the vetting committee.
Okay, will do.
And he is on call now too. If you want to kill two birds with one stone, you could probably shoot it to him too.
Well, I'll send it since it's property coming out. I'll offer it to all of the states. It's best practice to send it to you first, then you can send it.
Team 4. Thank you.
Yep.
So to talk about that a little bit further, Laura, as far as Austin, he and I was on their understanding that I was going to offer some time to train him up on the Ionis platform. And then you and him and then whatever other coordinator that come aboard would come together as far as a coordinator committee or whatever. I don't know what title you want to put to it, but and then you all would come together and get a plan for, who, what roles or what, and that type stuff. So that's the last I
Yeah.
talked to him on it.
Yeah, he said he talked to you and he was just going to be helping me out. So, but I think being Jefferson County coordinator, I mean, it's a position that needs to be filled, whereas there would be two being state coordinator. And like you've said before, Jefferson is our biggest county with the most papered up people. So eventually we're going to have a bigger need here. I envision us growing dramatically. I just do. So, um, I'm excited anyhow about him stepping up. It's tickled me pink. Every time somebody steps up, it tickles me pink because I see growth. But I do think that as coordinators, we need to get together and have some meetings just as coordinators, particularly to go over the disruption and the meetings. And forgive me, I'm not calling it the right thing, but the little booklet that you sent out, they put it in the chat on Thursday too during the coordinator call.
I just sent that vetting tutorial over to you there, Justin. To your email.
All right. Thank you. This is an old agenda, Laura, so I don't know, how you want to handle it, but we're at new business.
Okay, well, I mean, the new business, I think, is getting together with anybody that wants to study that book, that 25 pages, and having a meeting about it. I do think that needs to occur because we've had disruptions in our assemblyman meetings in the past. So if we could all get on the same page, I'm very thankful for that book because when it all happened, I didn't know how to handle it. But I don't see any other coordinators on the call, so I don't know that we can discuss that right now. But I mean, it would be good for anybody that wants to come, but I think it's very important that the coordinators know because they're coordinating meetings.
I mean, I'll get off the phone call if that's what y'all need.
No. That's, I want to include you as much as possible. That's not what I'm saying. No, what I'm saying
Wow, what's
is,
it about me? Is it about me? Because if it's about me, let's go ahead. I mean, spill it.
no.
I mean, I don't know.
No, it's just the book. They put it in the coordinator training, about what to do when people are attacking the other assembly members. Like, with Duran, when I sit back and I look at it, I mean, as soon as he said shut the F up to somebody, he should have been thrown off the call because that's not proper. I mean, we just can't have that. I'm so embarrassed that that's up for in recording for anybody that wants to watch it. It makes us look unhinged and not peaceful. So that would be something if we could get, everybody to read that little 25 pages. I just got it on Thursday. I've only gone over, the index and a few little things, so I haven't read it thoroughly either, but I think we all need to get on the same page and understand what to do when controversies come up on assembly meetings, just because we had it happen, in the past.
Had not had controversy. It should be private matter.
Yeah, controversy should be private and not a public thing. I mean, even the Bible tells you to go to the person privately before you make a public declaration. So I know that Austin went to Tammy Healy's outreach meeting. I don't know, I did not make it to that meeting. Did anybody else on the call make it to the outreach?
I have a recording for it, but actually even the recording is uploaded to I think it's Mop and Bucket. It's mixed in with weekly Thursday calls on Rumble. Pretty sure
Yeah, that's correct.
they hold those meetings. Yep.
Austin's getting on. I just sent him the link. So,
Man,
Yeah, sure. Who was that?
this is David on Hart County.
Hey, David.
Hey, everybody. I'm not sure what all's going on with what we were discussing. I'm wondering if it's a good idea to start limiting the freedom of speech when that's part of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. Do we really want to go there? I mean, I know that everybody needs to be professional and act in a certain decorum with meetings. And I fully agree that if there's an issue, that it should be between the two people. And I know some people have a problem with cuss words. But I just, being so young and so new as a federation, do we really want to get to that point where we're limiting people's speech and telling them that they can't express their feelings, even if it means them using cuss words? Because that's all that is. That's just an expression of how they're feeling and what's going on and how strongly they may feel or have an opinion about something. Like I say, maybe this is totally off base because I really don't know what the issue was. I'm just concerned that we shouldn't be the speech police ever. People need to be able to have the right to say what they're feeling and what they're thinking and
I
use
agree.
the words and terminology that suits them. I apologize for hopping in with that. I just think that that is a really dangerous path to go down, especially with what we know about the current administration and what they're doing. And we just don't want to fall into that trap again. I yield and I will shut up now. Thank you.
Thank you for
thank
that.
you for, sorry. Thank you, David. It's good to hear you speak.
Bob, your hand's up. So we got Bob on Jefferson's hands up. And then after him will be Belinda on Bullitt. And then Joe Hayes on Spencer County has his hand up. How you?
Take a question before Bob. He's having a technical issue at the moment.
Okay. Belinda on Bullitt.
Hi, this is Belinda on Bullitt.
You gotta
David,
turn
it
that.
wasn't- Hello? Anyway, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you.
Yes.
Okay. But David, what I was just gonna say is it's not really limiting free speech. What we're trying to do is remove those that are disruptive. The last few examples that we've had is it's kind of gone off the rails and more of an attack of other people, like multiple people on the calls. That's kind of, it's not necessarily not letting them speak or voice their opinions, because that's what we're all about. It's when it becomes personal attacks or just completely derailing the entire meeting. So just for a little bit of clarification on that, we would never want to limit free speech, because that's one of the things that I fight for too. Just when it becomes disruptive and we can't actually even have our meetings due to what's taking place or transpiring in that meeting. With that, I yield.
David Onhart, thank you, Belinda. I appreciate the clarification on that. And I absolutely agree with you. There's no way we should be limiting someone's speech. I mean, regardless of even how vulgar it may be, but attacking someone, that should be between the two people, like was said. So that part I do agree with as well. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. I yield.
Bob, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm fixed now. Laura and I go to a lot of these calls from all over the country. And what we've found out from certain places, when they do have somebody that wants to be a disruption, they usually have an outside interest. Georgia has them, Tennessee had ones, and they were all involved in the Moors. So when we get something like that and they just want to disrupt us, it looks like they're trying to just make us look bad and them look good. And I don't think there's any place for that. We can't serve two whatever you want to call it. I mean, if you're going to be in the American State National, then that's what you should be in. And Anna has said it herself many times. You cannot serve two whatever, not gods, but you know what I'm talking about. You've got to put all your
Masters.
heart, huh? Masters, yes. Thank you. So we got to watch out for that, because people will come in and they've got another interest, or they've got an ulterior motive, and it is to disrupt us to make them look better. And that's the part that I think we have to limit. And of course, personal attacks, there's no reason for that anyway. So I don't want to take anybody's speech away, but they've got to be able to handle themselves the right way. That's all. That's my opinion. I yield.
Thank you, Bob. Joe and Spencer.
Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, it's really that simple, where it comes down to it's nothing about freedom of speech. And I think it's clever today. The establishment is emphasizing the power, freedom of speech. No, it's limiting of reach, or freedom of reach. And the reach part is when it comes down to people expressing their concerns, especially if they're concerns, not just ideas, but concerns. They should never be addressed to any one particular somebody in a general assembly. I mean, because look at the dynamics. Everybody is within the general assembly, so it's everybody. There's no room for reaching or overreaching and pointing fingers at anybody, any one person. This is done behind closed doors. And again, the ancient writings shows wisdom to that degree, and there should be an opportunity for that. But that's a private matter, and it should be taken in private matter. That private venue on the record is in the ombudsman. So it's just simple. It's not even, there's no complexity about it. It's not freedom of speech. It's limiting of reach and pointing those concerns in the proper venue. So, and if I know it to be like a broken record, an assembly that doesn't have an ombudsman service is going to flail, kick, and sputter until they have that. So I yield.
Well, and Anna does say our free speech ends when we're infringing someone else's rights. So for me, you know, some people like the cussing. Well, we know that there's people that do not want cussing, and I completely understand that. And so I don't think that's a small task to ask people not to do. I understand that when we had cussing in our assembly, emotions were high and people were expressing it, but it offended other members of the assembly that were just innocent bystanders that weren't even involved. So it did need to be taken up privately, and it became this big public ordeal with us. So, I mean, it took 2 meetings to get it all out, and you know, so, and I still, you know, with the Moores thing, there's been, you know, other people reach out to me about thinking that they may be infiltrating the assembly. Um, and you know, I love Duran. I know he is a Moore now. He posted his paperwork. I don't know that we really did him right. Maybe he wouldn't have been a Moore. But after what happened took place, and he just he rebelled completely. So, I mean, it was his actions after the incident that kind of made it into fruition, because he started saying things that didn't need to be said, like he was going to take people out of the assembly and those kind of things. And we have to be on guard for that, because we're kind of small. We're trying to grow. We don't need somebody infiltrating the people who are trying to come to us to another assembly. I mean, that is something we could not do. And I don't think he was doing it, but he said it in his frustration. So after he said it, we had to take it literally. I mean, but I don't think that's actually what he was doing. And I wish the whole situation got handled better, because I hated losing a good volunteer. But after the fact, he didn't want to change his behavior, because he really, you know, wasn't doing the job of coordinator, because he had gotten another job. So, I mean, it's just the whole way it came out. His character came out. And like Justin said, we just had to let it play out. And we did. And this is what we came to. But we need something in place for procedures like we did. And I like this book. It's way more thorough than what we came up with. And we just need it in place so that we can get business done and not be distracted. And I yield. So we still need an outreach person, and we need a librarian. And that takes us over to Bob. Does anybody want to do anything with outreach or librarian? Does anybody want to step up and try and do those roles? I'm probably going to offer that every time we come. I don't know about the librarian being much as a need, but outreach really is.
May I?
Yeah.
Well, the staff, PKTF has to go right now for, hopefully we can get this done in less than 6 months, but we are working on other things right now, kicking off right now as well. But we owe the assemblies a greetings, a salutation and service type of introduction with regards to what PKTF offers. Right here on the screen is a good part of that. That's three of the four, three that's on the screen here is part of our opportunity, our obligation to the assemblies. So Kentucky's no different. What we'll come in with, whether it's myself or Kimberly or Louise or somebody else, they'll show what the Federation is rooting for and encouraging each assembly to start up, whether they've been around for a while, if they've been dissolved and, you know, are reconfiguring and, you know, whatever the case may be. The outreach is part of where the peacekeeping task force kind of has the opportunity coming into the assembly, but not just that, the tenants, the services coming from the assemblies and that the PKTF can harmonize with, first and foremost, is the assembly militia. Now, and that's okay if you don't have one, but that's the reason for the introduction and service, is because just to let the assemblies know that peacekeeping task force is there for each assembly, spawning from that pillar. And then the peacekeeping task force has the opportunity to be there among the people, like I am for Kentucky, but you'll have an actual liaison in the future that is assisting with the assembly militia build out. Now, the outreach portion of as just as wherever it lands, wherever the outreach committee is, I've just noticed from other assemblies that it's shared between General Assembly jointly and the Assembly Militia, typically. So there's that, and then the Provisions Committee, which is usually dedicated to the Assembly Militia pillar. What you'll end up having is after that, at that 30 or 40-minute meeting with PKTF, you'll know then that Assembly Militia is so vital. The Peacekeeping Task Force Assembly Liaison is a new idea, came out in March of this year, but it's gaining considerable traction. But that helps also to build that bridge. And then through the Provisions Committee, it also helps your counties start to have peacekeepers. So that's two elements: Assembly Militia Command, PKTF Assembly Liaison, State Chief Continental Marshal is the third of four, and the fourth and final, at least as far as PKTF is hoping for, and the Federation is encouraging, is a state elected Marshal at Arms. With those four tenets, service tenets, servicing the four pillars, I mean, it's a really, really effective meeting. The first PKTF was supposed to provide that and never did to any degree of effectiveness. But that was 2021. 3 years, 2.5 years, a lot of things have changed. So just know that this can help with your outreach. Certainly your ombudsman and Marshal at Arms reporting. I mean, you'll start to gain a lot more, a lot more detail, a lot more excitement, and with those reports as they come out. So I'll be scheduling a meeting with Kentucky whenever you guys would like to. Perhaps we can do that next month. So, I yield.
May I, Laura? This is Justin.
Yes.
A suggestion I have from last General Assembly to this meeting, and will kind of help from putting the ombudsman, being Bob at this point in time, on the spot, is all of those reports, like in this report, just for instance, the ombudsman report, those type incidents, in my opinion, need to be kept behind closed doors. Any investigation needs to be kept behind closed doors. Any product from those investigations need to be kept behind closed doors. That's the whole purpose between an ombudsman, is to not interfere with the day business of the General Assembly, and stuff like that. So I kind of take a little bit of onus on this as far as not prepping Bob as best we could, but we're all learning. But an ombudsman report, in my opinion, is just, hey, we're working on this. We had this, we've seen where we can do a little bit better. Not as much as far as giving everybody an update on the conflict that is being resolved. I hope that makes sense. And that will keep him from having to feel like he's trying to take sides, trying to hide any information, because I know Bob, I've gotten to know Bob, and he's in it. His heart's in it for the right reason, and that's what an ombudsman really needs to be about. So trying to keep the General Assembly sanitized of all the conflict and allegations and all that kind of stuff, it's not really necessary to give everybody a report on what's going on, because if it's done right, from what my understanding is, the ombudsman's office is there to keep the conflict from getting to the General Assembly. So if we're just going to bring it to the General Assembly, that's kind of confusing to me. So that would just be one of my suggestions for the ombudsman report, and as a Lincoln County, and maybe just don't focus so much on the problem and giving everybody an update, because if it's done right, then the conflict doesn't make it and nobody even knows about it. I yield. Joe, your hands up.
Yeah, it's just like anything, just like in any marketing approach, things got to be said many times before people, I guess, grasp it, and that's to be appreciated here, since we haven't exercised the role of ombudsman. And yes, Justin, you're exactly right. The dynamic, what comes out as a result of the ombudsman meetings behind closed doors, informal meetings, are the salient details, the main vulnerabilities that the assembly is suffering, and leaves behind closed doors feelings, emotions, names, ownerships to that degree. And but then what can be shared on the General Assembly floor is just that observation, the key observation. I mean, I don't know if you guys follow Parliament or anything, but it's just as an interesting how they do, you know, with their emerald green chairs facing each other with a big table, and then on one side of the Parliament they got somebody, I guess a parliamentarian or whatever, sitting up there. When they address each other, even though they're facing each other, the folks in Parliament, they're instructed not to look at each other. If they have grievances, they look at the parliamentarian up there in that seat, you know, and they're supposed to address each other, even though they're looking right at each other across that table. They're supposed to talk to that guy up in that seat. So anyway, that's Parliament, and well, our General Assemblies is similar in that way. When it comes to grievances, they address the things that are going on in the assembly, certainly not anybody, and that should be fair to, you know, that nobody's being paid and everybody is sacrificing their time and skills. They're going to make mistakes. So anybody that thinks so rashly to reach out and lash out at anybody, if it needs to happen, then take the level of respect to the assembly as a whole and take it behind closed doors and vent there. The ombudsman will bring it out as an observation, a cumulative observation. That's there. And of course, just so you know, the ombudsman is going to ask those who have issues with somebody else, where's the manual? Where's the procedures? So a lot of times, even starting out right now, anybody thinking that they are compelled to have to lash out at somebody behind closed doors, if they don't have a written policy, then they're just really, it's just emotion that they're going on. But it's a great opportunity for even the ombudsman to encourage those who has an issue with somebody who's working in the assembly, of course. But if there's no manual or operation procedures, then join the committee that helps design one. I mean, they literally have something as a concern that they can help, you know, correct that and put it in a manual for adoption later. I mean, it's brilliant. And people have issues with each other as they go, yes, but if there's not a breach and a policy that's written, then you're just dealing with emotions at the moment. So that is the quick fix, and it's pretty rapid fix when you really think about it. So, but it's going to take multiple times to discuss it before everybody gets the idea. I yield.
Bob?
Yes, I agree with you. That's what I was a little confused about the ombudsman report, because if I'm looking into something and I've gotten both sides of the story, why do I got to put it out there to everybody? Somebody's going to just have to allow me to resolve the conflict and be aware that it's been fixed, it's been taken care of, without having to put everybody's dirty laundry out there. I yield.
If I may have a quick follow-up, it ties in with what Laura was mentioning earlier about a decorum manual. So let's just say that's not yet been mentioned. Okay, just hypothetically. Let's say today someone goes into Bob's office and says, you know what, I got a problem with this, and I can't speak on the floor, and I don't know, you know, just whatever, right? But they're doing it in the correct venue to the correct man or woman that's helping to resolve the issue. Bob could say, you know what's coming up very soon, so-and-so, we have a decorum manual that deals with, you know, issues or whatnot. It's not finished yet, but would you like to join the committee? We don't even have a committee for it yet, so-and-so, but just know this is happening, and you're welcome to come back and share your frustrations further. But right now, we don't have a manual, but it's from what I'm hearing, this is Bob, it's in the works. So let's table this if you don't mind, and we'll move forward. Now, General Assembly comes in next week. Here's Laura talking about an idea here about procedures or identifying disruptions or whatnot. It doesn't have a committee. So then, it can be discussed. Hey, let's design a committee built based on this new development. It's a needed development. You set the committee, name the committee, limit the committee, have people invited to the committee. Now that one that was aggrieved the day before talking to our ombudsman should be eager to join that committee to help make that what Laura just brought forward into a concrete reality that goes on the shelf of the organization as a bona fide adopted policy. And then that's it. That's done. It's done and dusted. So that's another way how those things take shape and move forward. I yield.
Laura, this is Justin. May I put my 2 cents in on this?
Yes.
And I'm going to put a disclaimer out there that I am not boo-hooing about whatever. Okay, for anybody not on this call, we post these in the public on our website. These calls are recorded, and when I do share them on YouTube, I do not put unlisted to where you have to have the link to see the call. When I publish our General Assembly meetings, I'll publish them to the public. That way, anybody that hits an algorithm, Kentucky Assembly, the Kentucky Assembly, the Kentucky General Assembly, will come up in their search. Okay? So that's my disclaimer before I say what I'm going to say. The reason I'm saying what I am going to say is because I am a living man, a creation of the living God. And I was one of the ones attacked. Durand was one of the ones attacked. Okay? What I'm saying, and the reason I'm saying it, is the Ombudsman Service is vital to protect those that have raised their hand to serve and give them some kind of peace of mind that they're raising their hand. They know I raised my hand to serve others as an American state citizen, knowing my background. I am not scared of my past. I have repented from all sin. Okay. So I care. Okay. But what I'm saying is people that are going to raise their hand to serve need to know, one, they're serving in a public capacity. We are not a group. We are not a small group. We're trying to restore and reconstruct the American civil government. Okay. So there's a call to action. And that call to action needs to be answered by people, but that it needs to be answered by people that knowing that there's a service out there that's going to protect them. And along with protection comes education and informing. So when we have people come to us from the outside and they're able to just throw accusations around from what they find off of the putrid social media sites that we all know that was created to cause infighting and cause division, then education must be done to separate ourselves from United States citizens and all that. We are Americans. We live under the common law. We're trying to recreate the common law court system. That's not hearsay. That's not fact. Okay? Or I beg your pardon. That's not hearsay. That is all fact. All right? So what I'm saying is I would like, and I'll volunteer to help out with the Ombudsman Committee. A little digression is the reason why we're not getting any movement out of these committees is that we're not really providing the space for these discussions to take place outside of the General Assembly meeting, which is really where they're supposed to take place in the committee setting, and then bring back Bob as the chairman, bring it back and give the good news and give, hey, we have worked on this. We have heard your voice, right? Because that's where the American civil government is where people come and their voices are heard and it is enacted on. In the de facto government, you're told what you can and can't say. We all know it. Okay, so I won't go there. But what I'm saying is anytime an incident occurs, we arbitrate, We handle the situation, but I would like to see some education, especially if those people are going to continue and status correct and expect to be members of the assembly. Well, there needs to be a remedy, especially if it caused such infighting as it has caused. Okay. And not name dropping anything, but both incidents was caused by the same source. All right. There was no process and procedure in place to protect the Marshal at Arms office, not just me, the Marshal at Arms office, because I don't expect to be here forever. The Marshal at Arms office is to provide security and a safe meetings place for everybody to come in and feel comfortable to express their opinions, like David mentioned. Freedom of speech, number one. But when we're allowed to come in and bring all that in from the outside, it's just, okay, you bar the doors, it's all over. So I guess what I'm saying is not only arbitration and all that, but let's teach people that, hey, that's not what we are. We are different because we are Americans. And Anna says it all the time. And I don't try to put Anna on an idol and idolize her because that's a sin. But I do consider her my cosmic grandmother because she says a lot of things that I resonate with. A lot of things don't, like the galactic article here recently. That's way over my head. But not to get off subject. We need to educate people that are coming from the outside to know that if you make an accusation against somebody, there needs to be fact other than social media, because it got me, it got Duran. The difference between me and Duran was I was doing my job and I got attacked, and now we all see how it panned out, right? It's just like what you said, Laura. It wasn't because of Duran and his religious preferences or because of the color of his skin or anything like that. It's because he was not doing his job and all the other stuff. Okay. But that's water under the bridge. We use it and we learn from it. But people need to be able to come into the assembly. And if they're felt led to serve, they need to know that there's a protection surrounding them instead of just being thrown to the wolves. I had a speech prepared tonight, and I was going to resign because of it, but I'm not,
Thank you. We need you.
because I love the people I'm surrounded with. But for others to come in and think that they can attack somebody and get them a better position at the table, that's not us. We're not the Knights of the Round Table. We are all kings and queens. And Yeshua was, Lord of kings, not Lord of peasants. So I hate to see the infighting. I hate it like no other. And it was rough to go through all the way since February. And I want to make a suggestion to everybody that the group chats, weigh those very heavily when you get on those things, because they're good, yes, but we're taken away from the assembly and the committee structure when we take it to the group chats. Let's have that on committees. Let's start doing assembly committees. Let's start doing ombudsman committees. Let's start doing an outreach committee, because I'll digress and I will be quiet on this. On the outreach committee, we need to discuss intake, because our intake procedures are 2 years old. We're coming upon a generational change, quote, generational change, unquote, because we're getting new men and women with new minds and new abilities, and they're learning. And we have to give everybody the ability to teach others, because that's how we learn as men and women, or it's how I learn. If I'm able to repeat it, I'm repeating it and it's going in my memory bank, and I don't have to look at the screen anymore. I'm confident with it. And then when it's presented to me out in the de facto, I don't get upset. I'm calm. I know who I am as an American, and I know that all that is just duality that was created. So I'm kind of rambling, and I apologize, but I love everybody on here. And I hated to do what I had to do. But I raised my hand to serve as the state marshal at arms. And I had no other alternative. Deron was on my radar. He didn't do nothing wrong. I can't do nothing wrong until a crime has been committed. So I didn't say that as a threat or that I had a speech prepared. That's not me. I said it as just being open and honest that I paid my dues. And I'll be damned if I owe anybody an explanation on anything other than my job at hand. And I yield. Joe, your hands up.
Yeah, again, so since the ombudsman report, I want to breathe life into that right now. We're hoping to get the blessing from the Federation as far as PKTF is concerned with at least offering an opportunity to have PKTF at least educate ombudsman assemblies that are eager to learn the industry standard. We have that. We actually have several years combined of observations working with ombudsman. And it's not that it's difficult to even discover. Anybody can look up the industry standard and see that there's not a lot of moving parts to the ombudsman service, but it's extremely potent. Nevertheless, the PKTF's initial charter doesn't allow and hasn't. We're starting to realize that it's a calculated decision that the Federation Living Law Firm had to have decided to let the assemblies try to exercise self-governing and using the ombudsman service as that standard. So far, they've used a man out of Maine who's offered, and we've had a meeting with John Patricio that doesn't include the ombudsman service, and even to this day, in defense of his approach, also seems clever in a way because he just doesn't provide that, because there is an industry standard. So there's a clear distinction between conflict resolution or introduction to, mastering the idea of working with a group. That's what John Patricio has offered. And, in all honesty, it's okay, but it's not satisfactory to the point of ombudsman. It is not a stellar conflict resolution service that he offers. And he offers a paid service. That is something that is indicative of an ombudsman service under retainer. So let me just fast forward a little bit. We're hoping to get the Federation to bless off on PKTF offering education only to participating states. So where we're at right now, we have Michigan and Maine. We're still waiting to be blessed off. I was actually just a couple days ago over the weekend invited on to the California's Mop and Bucket. So I talked for 30 minutes if you guys want to listen to that, if you can find it. But we shared with them and their audience about what we're hoping to achieve. And we're hoping to run a 6-month pilot project with at least 10 states. So 5 groups of 2. Right now, Michigan and Maine is very interested. We're looking for 1 or 2 more groups in the Eastern time zone area, and then another group of 2 in the Central. We're hoping for Missouri and Texas to join for the Central time zone. There's a reason for the Central time zone. I'll share with everybody that a little bit later, but this is just to breathe life into our ombudsman report. If Kentucky would like to join, we can find another state that is ramping up their ombudsman service and wants to learn the industry standard, and then join up with another East Coast or Eastern time zone state, maybe Ohio, I don't know, maybe Georgia or something like that. But Michigan and Maine is on board. Probably New Jersey and North Carolina will be the second group of 2 on the East Coast. If there's nobody matched up, but you are interested, we will be meeting every 2 weeks on Thursday, I think at 4 p.m. Eastern for an hour or 2. We've already met once and it went well. We even have folks from other foreign state assemblies joining us. So it shows a lot of promise. A lot of the assemblies, are still hemorrhaging and bleeding out from just out of control issues that are really, just in my opinion, just they're nothing pressing. There's nothing that the conflict, the ombudsman service couldn't handle with ease as long as they had adequate training. So that's the report, what I can offer at this point. More to follow. I can get the recording over to you, Justin, so you can share it, or Laura, you can share it, or Bob. Just I'm traveling down the road right now, but give me a little time and I'll get that over to you. I yield.
Thanks, Joe. Belinda?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm sorry, I'd seen your hand up, so. The other thing I want to say about the ombudsman report, I think we kind of knew that it needed to be private, but it came so public in our General Assembly meeting that everybody was wanting an update. So I feel like that's, but it's something that definitely needs to be reformed. We need to take private matters on the private level so that it doesn't disrupt business.
I agree. That's a good point. It had become so public in our small sphere of people that, it was kind of, we are a General Assembly, but we're still an ombudsman committee at the same time as we're militia at the same time. Everybody's showing up for the same thing. So I agree with that comment. Do we need to create a meeting? Do we need to start a bi-weekly meeting for the ombudsman committee?
Yes.
Okay. Saturday evenings,
Works for me.
Monday. Well, hold on now. There's a few people on the call. Not step on your toes, coordinator. I promise. But I'm trying to stir some conversation amongst everybody else that, this is our space. This is your space to express your opinions. And if you would like to be involved, we are desperately in need of committee support for our assembly, because our assembly is made up by committee structure. And
May
you
I?
think about, yes, Joe, go ahead.
Well, I'm kind of busy on Saturdays, but not it's every other Saturday, but not every other Saturday all year round. If you go to the PKTF news site, you can see a general calendar of when we're busy. Then we take what's called an admin leave. We still conduct business at the staff side, but our liaisons are off during those periods. So you can just see that on the calendar. But as I mentioned before, as we're seeking approval, we're still setting up education and we're still conducting just surface level education. It is all nuts and bolts ombudsman training, and that's every other Thursday, like I mentioned. If I can't make it, although from Thursday to Saturday, however the calendars match up, if this is going to be every other Saturday, and those meetings as they are now are every other Thursday, we can get those recordings over to you, Bob, and if I'm available to join on the Saturday this committee meeting, then we can talk about what was discussed 3 days prior. You know what I mean? And you might have attended that same meeting. So what I'm saying is what we've discussed on the Michigan, Maine, probably New Jersey, North Carolina matchup, Missouri, Texas matchup, and Kentucky and any other state, that's 4 groups of 2. All of those details can be discussed during the Kentucky's ombudsman meeting every other week, Saturday. Just kind of try to maximize my participation. What I mean is sometimes I can't make those every other Saturdays because we have liaison training every other Saturday at 7:30. So.
David
May I?
Arcani.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
David.
Okay, Joe, are you saying that there doesn't need to be an ombudsman meeting because the training has already taken place in another
No, no,
meeting?
no. No, this is actually something we can bring to the Kentucky's Ombudsman Committee of things that was discussed with the pilot project that's soon to take off. I'm just saying that's some details that can be discussed.
Okay, but they already have the training that's already been recorded. Is that correct
There's
or
only been
not?
one, there's only been one meeting that was held last Thursday. And it was just talking about the orientation or the salutations that PKTF is owed to every state at some point, you know, a touch point where, hey, this is PKTF, welcome North Dakota. So, and then we talk about what they have at their disposal, whether it's a limited capacity or, you know, full on capacity. We talk about the need to have peacekeeping. That's the whole purpose of that meeting. And again, this should have been well established, and all assemblies should have already had that meeting in 2021, but it never transpired. So we're super behind on it when it comes to that. So it's starting now. That meeting last Thursday was going over those details, and that did include ombudsman service.
Okay, so
What
it's
we've
not an
had
ombudsman meeting, it's just.
No, it's a think tank. Yep.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
All right,
but
very good. Yeah, I just wanted a little clarification on that because it sounded like we were doing meetings that were already being done
no, yeah,
and that could be participated in instead of doubling up and tripling up and
right. No, this is actually kind of using synergy, taking think tank discussions and then taking them to a proper committee that appreciates it the most. So we'll start talking about the ins and outs, the nuts and bolts, the the things that ombudsman offers. Nothing that has to do with detail like John Petruccio offers, which is a different mastery. It's an introduction to, you know, nothing. There was zero content there, and remains that way. And I could see how, you know, what John Petruccio offers, he excludes ombudsman because that's just not what he offers, and that's fine. So, but what PKTF is trying to get the Federation to say, okay, well, and it's already been written, if the states would like to have an enhancement to the charters, which are directives to PKTF, then go ahead. Now, here's the thing. We need to show that we're capable of providing this training. We're not going to mediate. That's the ombudsman's role. But evaluating, educating, coordinating, and interfacing, that's what PKTF was designed to provide. So that's what Bob and all, if it's every other Saturday, then every other Thursday, there would have been a think tank meeting for an hour or two with all of the details that would be very enticing to the ombudsman at the state level who's not participating in the pilot project might want to know about. You know what I mean? So it's really good. Really good. It appears that it's going to be really beneficial to all of the assembly. But this is for all of those who would like to participate in the pilot project. So while we're storyboarding, we're talking about the education, the job description, ombudsman service, using a couple of scenarios, having just working those parts out, and everybody's really excited so far. So yes, to answer your question correctly, it's not. This is just think tank content right now.
right. Okay, very good. Thank you,
But
Joe. I
you could-
appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate the thorough
Yep.
explanation on that.
Sure.
I'm going to yield, but when you get to finished with regular form of business, if someone can holler at me, I'd kind of like to pop back in. I've got a few things that I'd like to talk about. But thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate that. I yield.
Welcome.
Justin, then Anita.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. We at the moment do not have any committee meetings set up. So that was what I was trying to get at. A fully operating committee needs a chairman, a recorder, and a treasury. That's fully. Now let's think about this in reality. We have how many people on the call right now? 12 people. So to ask of that, to have a chairman in every committee is kind of outside the realm of what we can do right now. So what I would intended on bringing that line of
You're muted.
no, I don't think.
Oh, we kind of lost audio there, Justin.
Hey, Justin, you're not coming through.
Now, can you hear me now?
Yeah, gotcha. Oh, now you muted.
Okay, so a point of clarification I was trying to get at was
Hold on.
not to schedule meeting upon meeting upon meeting, but for a committee to be fully functional by Federation guidance or PKTF guidance, it needs a chairman, it needs a recorder, and a treasurer. So my thinking was right along with what Joe was saying. We get one man or woman that's willing to lead a committee at those think tank discussions. And then they bring them back to Kentucky so that we can spur that conversation in our committee meetings. I yield. Anita.
Yes, I was just thinking along with what David was thinking, you know, if they're having these think tank committee meetings, I mean, that's what, if we were to have a meeting, that's what we would be doing. We would be just throwing ideas around. So, I mean, maybe Joe's meeting can't, you know, have a bunch more people on it, but I just think we're kind of swimming upstream or something to have meetings where you really don't have any substance yet. So I would think somebody would, I guess, kind of like what you were talking about, Justin, have somebody go to Joe's meeting and get some foundation to have a structured committee. I know we need all the committees going, but it just seems like we're, you know, not getting much done if you don't have, if Joe's having the structure, somebody needs to go to that to have the structure for our committee. I yield.
Well, if I may, like I say, I'll send over the meeting. I'll tell you who's designing it, and we're actually talking about two committees hosted by the same amazing woman that's able to do these things. I don't know why, it's just her skill, but Tammy Healy, she's headed up the outreach, nationwide outreach. And that's just fantastic. I mean, they've made so much progress. If that's any indication of what a think tank can do, is capable of, it's there, it's on par. Well, she's also in, currently hosting the, I don't know, I take that back. It's actually Michigan was hosted the meeting for the Ombudsman think tank pilot project. The outreach committee's already been thoroughly approved by the Federation. A significant development portion of that is under the PKTF umbrella, and that's what Luis is Anthony is sharing. But again, it's fantastic. You can see those replays on the Mop and Bucket Rumble channel and see the significance behind that. Huge participation, loads of energy. It's just great. So we're hoping that because there's no ombudsman out there and the assemblies have tried and struggled and to perfect that approach, not having an industry standard in place, using other methods, using internal peacekeeping. So not it's not maintaining the tenets of ombudsman, but nevertheless trying the Federation may consider now having PKTF offer education only, which is to say the Peacekeeping Task Force should no longer, none of the assemblies should think that they would have to resort to the Federation helping with conflict resolution anymore. As soon as this takes hold and people see this effort take shape in a limited capacity and just testing it, piloting an idea, people coming together, speaking only ombudsman, just raw industry standard, nothing else, no fluff, no introductory kind of stuff outside of ombudsman, just ombudsman. And the feedback that as a result of those think tank opportunities, I think the assemblies and the Federation will say, yep, let's go ahead and adjust and enhance PKTF's charter to offer education nationwide. That's what we're going for. And we've just started last week. The preliminary proposal went up to the Federation and they're still looking it over, but we're still setting up for education until we receive the final go ahead. I'll still send that recording that Michigan put together. I'll send it right over to Justin, and Justin can send it out to everybody else after that. Yeah, but it was great. It was over 2 hours. It was only supposed to be an hour and a half, but it went over a little bit. So, but I yield.
Okay, so Joe, the meetings you're talking about, you said they were Thursdays at 4:30?
Yeah, there was Thursday at 7, but we have other foreign state assemblies that are status correct to land and soil. So they moved it up a couple, 2 or 3 hours just so they don't conclude at 2 a.m. on their time. So, but I'll find out more. I'll find out. I'm pretty sure they did move it up from 7 to I think 4 or 4:30.
Okay, my issue is for me to go, like I usually do go to the litigation meeting on Thursdays, and that starts at 5. The other
Right,
thing,
and that's why I mentioned. That's why
I'm
I
sorry.
mentioned if it's off, it's off. If it's off your regular or in Bob's scheduled time, we can still facilitate a Saturday meeting, but you'll be coming to the Kentucky Ombudsman meeting every Saturday with having already reviewed what was talked about during the thing. You just didn't have the opportunity to attend. So it's the next best thing, I would say. You still get the content and all that. So.
Okay, and then Justin, we were kind of talking about an ombudsman meeting, and then we went into committee. So I don't know, I got a little lost on the difference between, I mean, are you talking about an ombudsman committee meeting, or were you just talking about having committees? Because I guess I kind of blurred it together in my head. I don't know. I yield, thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Am I slow or am I good?
you're good.
All right. No, I'm just saying, how can we make progress if we don't have committee meetings? I'm not just speaking of ombudsman. I'm speaking of everything. And Joe's bringing up a good point. Anita brought up a good point is, we're going to keep swimming upstream, especially if people are coming to us and saying, I want to help. What can I do? Well, in my opinion, what we do is we give them the opportunity to show up on these calls. If anybody's interested in ombudsman, give them the links to the ombudsman calls. Give them the recording links. I was just saying that our only meetings that we are discussing all this in is our General Assembly meetings, when it's really supposed to be by the guidance and committee structure. That way our General Assembly meeting runs like it did a couple of weeks ago or a couple meetings ago. It runs boom, 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 committee report after committee report. And after each report, the people that aren't on those committees, that are just American state nationals that are wanting to see the benefit of their government now that they've status correct, they can say, okay, I've got a committee I can go to on my government to express my concerns to. Or if I express my concern to the General Assembly, my voice is going to be heard. Right now, people are going and they're voting in shareholder elections thinking their voices are being heard. See what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that we beat a dead horse over the same subject. I'm saying that we need to separate ourselves from the Federation tit, sorry for the pun, or whatever, and start doing this ourselves. We can do this, but it's a matter of getting off all the other information and then focusing in on what's being provided to us by the people that's putting in the work, like Tammy, like Joe, all of them. You know, there's opportunity out there for people to get to know the information that we're all learning together, because this is a brand new thing since 2017. So I apologize for misleading or not being right with my words, but the meeting spaces I'm talking about is being created for us to bring back what we're learning throughout the week and set up a meeting. And it doesn't have to be every week. It doesn't have to be on a Saturday. It can be on a Monday, but it needs, in my opinion, a general consensus of to where we don't run into what happened on the litigation meeting that you tried to do, where nobody shows up except for you and Bob. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that we need to create the meeting space for us to be able to talk about these issues. And as we talk about these issues, it resonates within us. We learn it and we're able to speak it, and we can be more believable, if that's what you want to say, when we're trying to do outreach to others. And I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll say one more thing as far as how we're running this thing. It's more right now at the point of a business than a government, because right now we have, when somebody reaches out to us through the TASA website, we get them on the intake, and what we're sending them is the same thing we've been sending them since 2022. So not only an outreach or an ombudsman committee meeting, but those people that have raised their hand to serve, let's get together and discuss, okay, what is the coordinator's role? Okay, at what point do we hand them off to the recording secretary? At what information are we giving them? What, based on what questions they ask? Or are we just assuming that everybody's not done their own research? When I can attest that I have talked to a few men and women here recently that was telling me stuff that I didn't know, educating me. And that's the people we need, not selling anybody here short whatsoever. But those people that are willing to bring what they already know to the table, that is vital right now. And it kind of dispels the whole good old boys club norming good old boy thing that all you can only do this unless you know this and this and this. When that's not true. We need to afford the ability for everybody to be able to come in and present their information. That's all I'm trying to say. And these meetings that are going on, the outreach committee meeting, the Thursday night coordinator trainings, the litigation committee meetings, those are things that if people are resonating with that information, we need them to step up and take control of a committee. Not necessarily a chairman, but if that, we need to have that space created. And if that space is created, then when it is created and available, then there needs to be some type of discussion focused on that committee. That's all I was trying to say. I yield. Thank you.
Belinda?
Sorry, I just wanted to let you know that I gotta hop off. I'm traveling, with work at 6 o'clock in the morning, so, I gotta pack. So on my stuff, nothing's really changed. Everything's still the same. Not really any updates, but just wanted to put that out there before I jump off. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't. Thank you, Belinda.
All right, you all have a good night. Bye.
Safe travels.
All right, Belinda,
You too.
be safe,
Bye.
be safe.
Thanks.
So if I may say one more
Yes.
thing, I'm sorry, Joe, if I may say one more quick thing. my role as a state marshal at arms is to provide that safe meeting space. So give me some work, y'all. Let's get some committees going. Let's create that. And it doesn't have to be. And Laura, I apologize that I'm not singling you out, but um, to feel like you have to be at every meeting is really overworking yourself, Laura, in my opinion. If you can handle it, fine. I apologize. But there are recordings out there to where you don't it's really not possible and feasible for you to be 10 places at one time. It's really not. So I yield. I'm sorry.
May I?
Yes.
I was just saying, Justin, I did send that over to you, that the whole conclusive, the content in the email about the meeting, if you want to check that out for the ombudsman think tank there. I don't know if you received it.
Let me check it after I'm pretty sure I did. You send which email did you send it to, Joe?
The Ionis. I
Kentucky
don't know if it's your. Yeah, one of the two. I know you use Ionis two different ways, but
yeah,
I don't know which one it was.
I'll check it. I'm afraid to check it now because my internet's so spotty. Afraid we'll lose everybody. But I will check it and I will disseminate that information.
And I think I know what you was describing there, Justin. The fact that there are outreach meeting or the nationwide meeting, think tank meetings, like for instance, the outreach, that content that's already out there and established, a lot of great ideas and discussions already made. I think what Justin is saying, that somebody can go there and then bring that content back to the Kentucky's single committee, committee for that, because they have a zeal for it, an interest for it. They may have some skills as well, and then bring that back and then establish the Kentucky Outreach Committee. I guess the best example is check out the nationwide outreach, see that, take notes, and then come back on your time and then, or, offer to be there in that committee.
We're kind of ahead of you. I think Austin went to the
Yeah.
last one. He just wasn't on the
Yeah.
phone earlier when we were discussing it. So,
Right. Yep. And
I've been in
yeah, and
touch
then
with Tammy with some things that like I would like to see addressed on a national level myself too. So
yeah. Well, yeah, and we're hoping to get the go ahead to, initiate the education only outreach. I mean, ombudsman. So it's just kind of the same thing. And I'm confident that it'll gain approval and definitely momentum. So in the very near future, Bob can go listen to those replays. Actually, I sent it over to Justin. When Justin sees it and sends it to you guys, Bob, you can sit back and say, wow, that's pretty interesting. Hopefully you say that. Everybody else was intrigued once they seen the potential. And then you can bring that back and say, all right, I'm ready for the Kentucky's Ombudsman Committee meeting with those details. And then just kind of nurture it from there, I guess.
Hey, Joe, after Bob speaks, would you mind explaining why you're sending all that to me just for the recording and just to clarify, it's not just me you're wanting to get the information to, but let's let Bob his hands raised. But you see where I'm going with that?
Sure.
Thank
Too
you.
easy. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. Bob, your hand.
Yeah, Justin, I get what you're saying about all these meetings. Right now, Laura and I are just kind of being like a sponge. We're trying to learn as much as we can and be able to pass it off with some kind of knowledge, not just off the top of our head. So yeah, we go to probably 10 meetings a week. But we're just trying to learn. But I get it. We can't be everywhere all the time. And I'm going to have to start listening to some of the recordings because it's every day. And yeah, somewhere along the line, I got to slow down somewhere. I yield.
I probably ain't slowing down though.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the replays myself. But to answer Justin's question, and so just so everybody knows, to follow respect and
You're
Me
breaking up, Joe.
fast.
Hold up,
Fingers.
Joe, you're breaking up. Hold up,
Can you hear
just
me
give it just, give it a second and start over if you wouldn't mind. Go ahead.
Hear me now? Hear me now?
A little better, a little better. Try it now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
There you
5,
go.
4,
There you
3,
go.
2.
There you go. You got it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's just a good practice as the best practice. And just to check that box when things are coming to the assembly, if it's not yourself reaching out and gathering things, that's one thing. But when a federation asset just throws things to the assembly, that's can be cause for concern and would disrupt the assembly. So just for best practice, anything coming to the federation, you wanted to take that to your marshal at arms as if a package was being delivered to your state capitol. You would hope that there would be an area where something is handled universally across the board, packages, whatever case may be, people coming in, they're going to pass through your marshal at arms threshold before they move forward. So just content, whatever it is, a device, if it's email traffic, if it's coming from outside your assembly, it's especially if it's a federation level, it's best practice to hand it to your marshal at arms, and then they send it out. This allows it to be delivered in a more safe fashion, recognizable fashion, and it allows your marshal to be privy to what's being sent in. So that's the reason.
Yeah, I wish I would have sent that Arkansas General Assembly to the Marshal at Arms.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that is kind of a different animal that we're talking about, Laura. And the reason being is you are the state coordinator. You were at that meeting and you were just, you were trying to disseminate the information that was being put out to you. I know your intentions were good. What Joe was talking about is he's a federation. He works for the PKTF, but he's also a Continental Marshal right now. So the office of the Marshal at Arms is not to dictate what is put out to the assembly, but it's just to kind of just make sure that it's not going to get, conflict started. It's actual pertinent information. So the way it was put makes it sound like, hey, everything's got to come to the Marshal at Arms office. Well, no, it don't, because we are all self-governing men and women. That's what we are as Americans. So it's a fine line, but it coming from a federation representative like Joe mentioned, it's just proper procedure from the international level into the state level that it goes to the state marshal at arms. And if anybody's got any questions on that, you don't have to take my word for it. If you're on honest information, you can read her article. It's article 4883, the office of the marshal at arms, and then that explains why the office is here. Not necessarily me, the man Justin. I'm just that title during these meetings. Outside of that, I'm free to go wherever I want, but then I open myself up for conflict or anybody to retaliate if I'm just sharing it outside of an assembly function, right? So it's two different animals pretty much is all it is. So I yield.
Yeah, well, just like I say, just picture it vertically. Imagine you're walking into your state capitol. No matter which door you walk through, you're allowed to go in, but you're going to be, you should expect to be scanned by some security measure as you walk through. And if you hand it off, if you're not going in, but you're stopping at their, their inbox, their parcels gathering section, well, the marshal at arms and the inspectors are going to inspect it to the extent that they're able, just to see if it's safe. And then they deliver it to the various department. Not to say you can't carry something in yourself that's yours that you got from another assembly, or it's just yours. You just carry it and it's in your purse or in your wallet or in your laptop, and you're still gonna walk through the marshal at arms in that environment. And you're gonna go into the Capitol building and do what you do and do your business and leave. So it's kind of like that. It's very much like that. So. But one last thing, I mean, again, if it's something that's being delivered to the assembly, so you're dropping something off, email, letter, package, device, expect the marshal at arms to do their diligent inspection and examine it, and then carry it up, and then know that who the marshal's handing it to has been inspected to the extent that that it's safe. So anyway, I yield.
I guess we're at the point now where Chris is on the call for the militia report, but I would like to bring up and go back to the committee that Justin was talking about. I know that like there's litigation committee, this committee, that committee. Can we just do like outside committee stuff that we want to handle, not in our general assembly meetings? Does that make sense?
I'm not grasping it. I apologize.
Yeah, Bob just said, I guess not. Nobody's speaking.
No, I didn't want to leave you hanging, but
Well, you were talking about having committees to deal with the outside stuff. So maybe once a month, we just have a committee dealing with stuff that can be dealt with not in the General Assembly meeting. Because, like tonight, I like how Todd keeps things to about an hour, but, people are putting their time in. We're at an hour and 35 minutes. I mean, I don't mind. I'm here, but I want to respect other people's time. Like Belinda had to go. She wasn't able to do the whole meeting. And maybe we just need another place to deal with some outside stuff so we can keep our meeting down to like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Just call it the Outside General Assembly Committee. And then we do need to schedule the ombudsman stuff.
You mean like an area where, hey, I was at this litigation nationwide meeting. Oh, I was at this ombudsman nationwide think tank. I was at the outreach nationwide think tank, and then bring that and kind of parse it out, and then say, this is great stuff we're working on. Let's hand it to our committee. Is that what you mean?
Yes, very well
like
put. Thank you.
Kind of like a transient. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Kind of like that area where the trains come in and there's a great big awning and they sit there and they take some things off, they deliver, and then they move on. I get it. That makes sense.
Laura,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, that's absolutely needed for people just to come in outside of business hours and hang out. So it could be like, you could call it like the coffee shop, the Kentucky Assembly Coffee Shop. And you can do it, on a Tuesday that we're not holding a General Assembly meeting, or a day that is not a committee meeting going on. Yeah. I mean, that's part of us doing our status correction. So I agree. I mean, we are a populace, we're a growing populace. And for us to just limit that to governmental services, that's not really feasible, I don't think. So I think that's an outstanding idea. And I would just offer up, call it the coffee shop, the Kentucky Assembly Coffee Shop every Tuesday, the Kentucky Assembly Coffee Shop every Wednesday, So you.
Yeah, that sounds good
Great
to
idea.
me. I know other assemblies have it. The California actually has an herbal one where they do. I've not gotten to it yet, but I've seen it on the Telegram. So I've been kind of excited about maybe trying to attend that one. Because that would be something me and Belinda could do, just natural healing remedies, just to educate people and to help get them away from the doctors. Because so many people these doctors are not healing us. I mean, there's so many natural ways, and with me and my faith, I believe it's in the Bible. I mean, even in the end times when we live for the 1,000-year reign, we're eating from 12 trees. So I think, and then we hear that, all nations were deceived by Pharmakia, and that's where we're at right now. That's what happened with COVID. So,
And Melissa,
and Melissa,
Yeah,
it happened.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna ask her what happened. But
no, talking
go
about, you
ahead.
said you and Belinda, you and Belinda, and I said, and Melissa. Melissa makes her own
No,
medicine and such too. Don't forget about
oh,
Melissa
okay.
over here.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great. The three of us girls could do that and, you know, educate people.
May I?
Yes.
I'm just trying to get out of me being the one coming up with the meeting ideas. So I'm here. If you want a meeting created, reach out to my email, say, hey, we need this space created. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
gotten to the
Well,
place.
I'd like to know when people are available. So that's why
Right.
I don't want to just give a date and nobody be able to show up because they're not available.
That's really
So,
not how it works. I mean, if people want to be involved, they will make themselves available. We have to put the space out there. So, and it's gotten to the point to where I'm being labeled as a dictator because I'm the only one speaking up with the ideas pretty much. I'm sorry that sounds bad, but it's precedent. So,
oh, I agree. And I'm just now catching up to you. Part of the reason why, Justin, is because you've been here longer than we have, and you have the education that we're,
I'm
trying
not
to
saying
absorb
that.
at this point.
I'm really not saying that. I really am not. I'm here. My job is to create the safe meeting spaces and provide, the link for everybody. So
Okay, well, I don't view you as a dictator, and I
I know
hope that most people don't.
I didn't say that because of that, because I don't view myself as that either. I'm
May
just
I?
trying to put, yes, Joe, thank you very much. I yield.
Well, what is brilliant about Zoom, again, and I know when people come to a meeting, I've been to a couple of meetings for militia and no one was there. And I was perfectly okay with that because I had things to share, even whether I shared it with somebody and that I collaborated with during that moment or not. If they're not there, the room records automatically. I just share and lay out what I have, knowing that the room is recording everything that I'm sharing. And I leave fully content. So I'm not expecting everybody to be at meetings, knowing that I have a space that it's handed off to the Kentucky Assembly as a whole and that they can replay it because it's there, it's published, then I'm okay with that. That goes huge. That's just another way I admire replays is because I had the opportunity to share what I did, whether it was 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever the case may be. So we can still do that. I mean, just set up meeting spaces and say, well, oh, that one's on that day at that time. I'm going to go in and drop it off. Maybe not even expecting anybody to be there, but it would be a nice surprise if at least somebody else was there because they may have something to share too at the same time. They just know where to go and when if they have something to share. And all together, that adds up big time. So I yield.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm a people person. I like people to be there. Even when I watch the recordings back, I got questions. So that's why I try to make it in person to the meetings because even when I watch them back, I'll have some question or some misunderstanding if I'm not there to actually get the clarification for myself. So that's why I do it. I do understand people will watch the recordings and that we could do that. So it's just
Right.
it's a little bit of my uncomfort zone. I couldn't see myself it going and just recording me. Yeah, I guess it's some of my humility, but
Yeah.
I
Well, I
could do.
mean, it's just today's technology allows us to maximize our time management skills because we're not able to meet not only at the same time, but certainly not together physically. So just that
Right.
technology, it allows us to drop our items off. Like I have things to share with Todd. If he can't make it to a like an R&D session, I just drop it off there, and he can pick it up later and add it to his report. So I really like that.
Well, I'm probably gonna get with Melissa and Belinda and see if we can start some kind of herbal remedies meeting. Like, I don't know, at least once a month. That's just something that I have passion for. But let's get back to the ombudsman because we need to get that on the books. I guess the Saturday after the Thursday. What Saturdays are not working for you, Joe?
Well, it's every other Saturday. I don't know which day it is. Again, you'll go to our PKTF news site and see the calendar that's in there. And it's not that calendar you see is an approximation. It's not 2024 or 2022 or any, it just shows an approximation. But it's
So
every
do you
other
have-
Saturday.
Do you have a meeting this Saturday?
Yes.
You had it, yes.
Mhm. So
Okay,
by
so,
process of elimination, then the following Saturday would work out for me if I was to physically be there. Yes.
okay, so what, do we know that date? Let me look at the calendar. Alexa, what is the next Saturday's date? I don't know what the date is. Justin, can we schedule it for not this Saturday, but next Saturday? I don't know what the date is.
October 5th.
Yeah, we don't have to do it tonight, Laura. We've got email services. Just, it doesn't have to be done tonight. Just get the meeting schedules, the dates, send me the information, and I'll get it created on Zoom, and I'll send out the link. to you.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Chris. All right, I yield. I guess we can move on to the militia report.
Chris O'Marion, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, last week's meeting, we started discussing topics for our next militia in-person training and a couple of dates that we were looking at. Todd also said he received the business cards and distributed them throughout the state. And I requested the digital library from Marshall Justin and received that, which he was in received from PKTF, I believe. So we have that. My militia will be housing that digital library. I believe that's all we have for this week. I yield.
Thank you, Chris. Speaking on that, and I hate that she had to get off, but I did discuss the herbal remedies again with Belinda, and she said she would be willing to do it again too. So just FYI.
Perfect. Thank you.
Does anybody have a report from Tom on the General Assembly Committee report? Because there was that page for the elections that was in the agenda email.
Right, that's what I was gonna say, Laura. This is Justin and Lincoln. That's what I shared in the agenda. So if everybody could just kind of self-govern and go over that in their spare time. And the next General Assembly meeting, I think, is not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, so 2 weeks. Am I close?
Yes, October 6th.
Right, so October 6th, if everybody could just by then go over that information on the election, I think that's what Tom is wanting to kind of focus in on. I yield.
Does that wrap us up? Okay, recording secretary.
I'll give a brief overview of that. There's not really been much. I think this month we've had 2 or maybe 3 notary appointments. So 2, 3 new men or women have status corrected. But I would also like, if we're setting up meetings, you know, I'm just so passionate about making this thing like a factory and assembly line process. Because I'm like you, Laura, I think we're gonna get busy, especially as it gets closer to the election, the corporate election. I'm not trying to be a gaslighter saying that, but sooner or later, people are going. There's going to be a mass exodus, and I think the quicker and sooner we can get our our um our things in order to where we can. You're the first line of outreach as a coordinator, and you're getting help. And so if we can just kind of brainstorm, get on a meeting and brainstorm, okay, if this person's at this level of education, then we send them here, we send them this information. Or not that so much as far as, okay, the coordinator gets to know them a little bit, and then they send them off to this person or outreach, or if they're wanting to network with somebody and needing a coach on how to go over the information so that they're really good with the status correction, then that type of stuff I think needs to be discussed as soon as we can. That way we can get like an assembly line process going for intake, getting people seated and getting them to work within the assembly. I yield.
Yes, eventually I think we're gonna need like the orientation classes that we talk about to go out to everyone. Like it would be nice to get some more teachers like me that want to teach this stuff. And I guess as we grow, that would be something I would probably step into also if it became a need. Because I think, and Christy Leeper says this a lot, you come on and you have all these questions and you're trying to figure things out. And a lot of times, you just told yourself governing, but it doesn't help you. So, a lot of people when they come, they're like in shell shock from all the trauma from de facto, like I was. And they just need the education. The International Business Assembly report wasn't on here, but I do want to report that I had email contact with Nick and he talked to a person in the Federation and she hooked him up with some people. So he is definitely still planning on doing it. He went through some issues with his business. So he's trying to recover from that and is apparently still eagerly wanting to be the International Business Assembly coordinator. So I think that's good news. I was glad to hear that, and I wanted to update everyone on that little bit of knowledge. Vetting report.
Yes, Chris O'Marion, can you hear me?
Yes.
I checked my email this morning and see I have received a vetting request for Austin on Jefferson. So I'll be initiating the vetting for him this evening or early in the morning. So I'll be looking for that, Austin. How you?
Beautiful. Thanks, guys. Secretary, if anybody's got secretarial skills and wants to step up, we need a secretary.
Hey,
Yes.
well, going, like you saying, Laura, going through what we have as far as the, how to build an assembly, the manual being updated, General Assembly Handbook updated, it provides description about, you asked that, well, you let it be known we need a secretary. Now we can then add that, I don't know, not to the agenda, but again, going back to those room segments where, hey, if a secretary maybe needs a committee, so we can set up a template room to have real quick descriptions of where that can be, and people can even join and discuss, and that can be recorded and be part of the archive, and then anybody interested can go back in and say, well, I'd like to learn more, and you can point them to where that recording is. So I know it can be a bear to try to get those things locked into our network, but it's definitely doable, and you can navigate around and get there, that way, cause somebody asks, hey, well, what is it? What's the secretary? What's the duty? What's the job description? Yeah, things like that. I yield.
I wish Belinda was here. I thought she said that Cynthia was gonna step up to secretary, but I know she had that surgery. So do we have somebody that's I mean, I guess I need clarification on that. Because some meetings ago, she was gonna take Belinda's place, but needed, the surgery. So obviously she needs recovery time. But has anybody heard anything of that?
It's Chris on Mary, man.
Yes.
I believe she was actually vetted for the secretary role, and then she had to have her surgery, so she never actually stepped into it that I'm aware of. Are you?
May I ask this, Justin?
Yes.
At what point, I'm just throwing this out there, at what point do we say, okay, this person's MIA, we need to find somebody else? Because this is not just a secretary position. I'm not throwing Cynthia or anybody under the bus, but self-governing is yes and no is no. And again, I'll say, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but if we're gonna progress and we're gonna move on as an assembly, then we need some type of process and procedure in place to say, okay, their heart's really not in it. We haven't heard from them, so this much time, let's put the position back up. I hope I didn't come off too hateful with that, but it's just, not at this point, not everybody gets that we are a business, and the American government comes along with that, but we're trying to market and create an American brand on Kentucky. And part of that is having people in place to be able to put the time and effort like most of us are when we do volunteer to do it. Things come up, and I don't speak for anybody. So I just see that that's not a good self-governing practice to make assumptions on stuff. You take people at their word. And again, that's my disclaimer is I'm not pointing it at one man or woman. It's just, it's a business. And if we think of it as a business, those people with the business mentality will feel more adapt to helping out and speaking their voice and helping us create that American brand. Because that's what our forefathers did. They separated from the crown and they created America. I yield.
Oh, I definitely agree. I mean, if somebody has stepped up and is able to do the work, I mean, some of the issue is we're small, we don't have all the people we need as it is, and we work on a volunteer basis. So, but yes, if somebody's gonna do the work, of course, we would have to let them do it if somebody was MIA. But I think it gives us hope to know somebody may be stepping up versus nobody's there.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree 100%.
I wish Belinda was still here. She could have told us. But the last I heard, I thought she was once she recovered. And after a heart operation, you need a while. So hopefully by Christmas or so, if nobody else steps up, she is able to help because I do think she's probably in it. I mean, just being disabled, there's times my heart's been in things and I can't always do, what I want to do. So just the benefit of the doubt is what I'm trying to give. But yes, if somebody's willing to do the job, we would obviously need to take that. I yield. Oh,
Dave,
I would.
Clark County.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I know everybody's wanting to get to the adjournment part. I've just got a few things that I want to throw out there. First of all, I miss Matters Most. It was so nice to be able to go in, check a topic, find some answers. It was just very, very helpful, especially when I was young in the assembly. Haven't been able to put as much time in it now, as everyone knows, but still, late at night you get in, it was just real easy to check. Second thing that I want to find out, and this is a question. Zoom has updated. I'm on a PC. How in the heck do I raise my hand on the PC? Because I can't find it anywhere on here. Does anybody know? Nobody knows?
It should be under the reactions key.
I
David,
don't
can you
have
hear me?
reactions.
Can you hear me, David?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, it's still at the bottom. So if you hover around the bottom there, you're gonna go left to right. It's gonna be audio, video, participants, chat, and then REACT.
Okay,
If you click that heart, your raised hand emojis and a few more emojis should come up.
okay, thank you. All right, got it. Good
You're
deal.
welcome. You're
All
welcome.
right, now, next thing is, I want to discuss a little bit of Anna Von Reitz and the, police keeping task force. Everything is wonderful, right? Anna is extremely knowledgeable. PKTF is making strides and doing what they feel they need to do. My concern is that when people talk about wanting to become an American state national / citizen, they're told about they're not going to be a US citizen anymore. They'll have their God-given rights. But in practice, they've got nothing to show for it other than paperwork. I really believe that if this were to come from Anna, how to handle yourself with a police infraction when you get stopped. I've seen a lot of videos where people can use their God-given rights to get out of a police officer giving them tickets. If that was something that was discussed and in a manner of, you want to take this steps and you want to say this and this, and you don't want to do this and this, so that people would realize that, yeah, they can gain something from this automatically, then you're going to get a lot more involvement. Court cases, how do you handle yourself if you happen to get trapped in the court situation, and what they can do with the magistrate wants them to commit and walk through the bar and they refuse to, so they get up and leave. How to handle that situation. If you want to have more people in the assembly, and we do, right, then there has to be something for them to say, okay, if you do this, we'll teach you how to handle yourself in these different situations. And I know that they have the land patent series that was going on. I don't know if it's still going on or not. But things like that, people are interested in. They can get their hands dirty and come away with something that's going to improve their life. It will make a difference to them. But not having that education available, and they come in and they learn wonderful things from Anna about how this all happened, week after week after week after week. And it gets really repetitious. The police keeping task force, if they could concentrate their efforts into talking with the sheriffs, getting a meeting together with the sheriffs, and let them know what the Supreme Court has decided on the case of traveling. If those steps were taken so that people could see that, hey, this is going to make a difference in my life. This really does get me back to what the founding fathers intended. At least that's a step in the right direction. It's a start to saying, I've got to learn this stuff. this is gonna benefit not only me, but my family. And I haven't been real involved, I'll admit that, right from the start here, and maybe it's happening somewhere. But if it is, I'm not seeing any of it. And Anna is so awesome in how she speaks. If she were the one to speak to that and lay out the directions on what needs to be done, not just do your paperwork and learn, then you're gonna get a whole lot more people that are gonna say, I'm in, let's do this. And instead of having 12 people on this meeting, you might have 40 or 50 or 70 or 100. There's been, from the time that I've come in, and I came in at the same time Justin did 2 years of about the same amount of people in the meetings. I can remember at one time we were up to, I think there was 21 during one meeting, but most of the time it's right around 10. So if anybody's got Anna's ear, Joe, if you can talk to PKTF and say, look, we got to start helping the estates in this manner so that there's progress being made, and not just, well, we can't do anything until we build our assembly. Because you got to start doing something while you're building the assembly. Because people look at this and they go, my God, how many years is this going to take? Not using the Lord's name in vain, but that's what they're thinking. So life comes
Yeah.
up, they step aside, and that's why my personal belief is why there's still only 10, 12, 15, 18 people on a call. I humbly say, maybe there's
May
more
I?
that I'm not. Yeah, Joe, I got you. Maybe there's more that come on the days that I miss, which is entirely possible. But that's just my thoughts and feelings about what's going on and the stalemate that's kind of set in with the amount of people. You guys have awesome ideas. I mean, you really do. You want things to happen in an orderly manner, but you got to give people something in order to hold their interest, to want to stay and to want to come in the first place. I will yield with that, and Joe, go for it.
Yeah, thanks. And you know, I'm glad you shared where consistency, ultimately consistency, no matter how incremental some progresses are and some setbacks, things incrementally moving forward, to be evidence to that, to be witness to that, is really the key. I mean, just like you mentioned, you may have been away for a while and haven't seen the progress. Everything that you mentioned has been discussed and it's been discussed for several months now. I was trying to share my link tree, so if anybody can, Justin, if you can share that so that David can see. So yes, leaps and bounds, that stuff has already been, it's been out there. There's discussions on YouTube. The Peacekeeping Task Force has been training their liaisons again since March of this year, consistently. So many hours, spreading out the approach for contacting law enforcement, contacting, building bridges with peacekeepers, all of that. So Justin, if in the chat or anybody, if you can share that with David, he can see and can go back and listen to those and see those replays.
May I got my hand up.
I did too.
What I would like to say, David, is I hear you loud and clear. Trust me, I do. You know, I've put time in, but that does not put me on a pedestal above everybody else. What I would like to offer as some type of, I don't know, I'm on lack of words. I always am. But we do have an IT infrastructure, and we have other people creating link trees for other places, but we're lacking on Kentucky. I don't know how to create a link tree. I have no IT skills whatsoever, but I have the assets to be able to make people creators on a WordPress platform to where we could populate that stuff on a website. If you look at California Assembly's website, their link tree is often awesome. Yes, PKTS link tree is awesome, but it's kind of a kick in the you know what when Kentucky's sitting here like,
I was told we
where
weren't using Linktree anymore, I thought.
are we at? Where are we at? You know, so the resources are here. So maybe as I hear your plea, maybe my plea could go out to if you could afford some time because I know you have IT skills. Maybe help us out in that department. I agree 100%. I that's one thing I desperately want is a website presence because in this day and age, that's how you get people turned on to the information, especially if they're thirsty like they are for information now. So, you know, contact me. Let's get other people that have IT skills, especially younger people coming in. Caitlin, Austin, everybody. You don't have to be vetted to be able to be a content creator on WordPress. We have a WordPress platform. It's hosted by Ionis. WordPress is such that you have administrators, you have editors, and you have content creators. So that's what I have to offer is we have the resources. We've just been lacking the personnel to equip those resources. I yield.
May I?
Please.
Yeah, David on Hart County again. My point in this is that if anybody can get in Anna's ear and have her be the one that walks through this. There are a lot of people that listen to Anna. And that would make a big difference in setting a precedent for how people can protect themselves, right? She's so good at the history and how things got to be as bad as they are. But we got to move on from that at some point, right? And she is such a good spokesperson to be able to convey a message. And she's already got the platform. It's there. So if she can do that, if PKTF can actually start talking with these sheriffs in our own counties to let them know, look, the Supreme Court's already ruled on this. Why are you still going against the Constitution? Of course, they're not going to put it that way because I'm rather abrupt with my speech, but you get the idea. I don't know what this link tree is that you're talking about, and it may be a wonderful idea. And Laura in the chat says that she's been looking at making one and it looks pretty easy for her. So if that's true, that's fine. But having the information where people can help themselves and not have to research every little thing and say, oh, well, I can't use this word. I've got to do it a different way and use another word. I don't know what else. I don't know how else to put it. I just really believe that would make a big difference. I yield. And I know everybody wants to get off and adjourn and go home and
Actually, I
enjoy
wanna-
their life.
I really want to speak.
I yield. Go ahead.
Okay, so Anna does go over the tickets. A lot of people bring that to her on the coordinator calls. I mean, to the point where people are like, okay, we got to quit, and get back to assembly business. She does go over that. I think a lot of the issue is getting it concrete because they don't follow laws. They're so criminal, they just do what they want. So one person may use a tactic and it works, but then the next person uses that same tactic and it doesn't work. So I think some of it is, given the false information. We do have the litigation meetings that I go to. And last week they had one on Friday on Michigan that a few of us from the assembly went to. I think Melissa and Austin were there with me. So we do have some that's trying to teach We've also, that's been, when I said earlier that I've brought concerns to Tammy Healy, that was one of my concerns, is how the de facto views us and how they just stomp over our rights, and how they teach about us. Because my son happens to be taking criminal justice, and we're not talking because he thinks I'm a paper terrorist. I mean, and a lot of it is that indoctrination that he received through his college education. So if we could like stop the way they're educating people about us, because we're not, they don't educate truthfully. It's defamation is what it is. I mean, because, you know, when we get called all those sovereign citizens, you'll know those sovereign citizens. I mean, we get taught horribly about. And if we could get the education part down, you know, where in the colleges and with the de facto, I think that would help us tremendously. Because here we are giving out our truth, and we got a million other people saying that we're crazy paper terrorists. You know, and all we're trying to do is stand up for our God-given rights because this government is rogue. I mean, but people are waking up. So I do think there's avenues. And I think like Tammy Healy is one of them. Maybe her next meeting, I think it's like October 3rd, maybe. I'm not sure. But they have it once a month. I do have the link. She has emailed it to me. But taking some of those concerns, I wish, David, you would go speak with like Tammy, go to one of her meetings, because I think that, and I'm not saying Joe can't, because I know he can, but that would also help get your idea out about Anna teaching this. I mean, even if she just made a little video, it would certainly help, because I'm actually getting annoyed at the ticket questions. They come up so much about, you know, traveling and tickets. And I mean, some people are getting they try to practice their rights and the cops just pull them out the car. That's what I mean. The cops don't have a steady procedure. They're doing whatever they want, is how I feel about it. So I would greatly suggest getting in touch with Tammy. She can probably get some of your ideas there too. And I think it would be great if Anna would just make like a video on how to deal with tickets and quit answering that question in our coordinator calls. And I'll yield with all that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Laura. That sounds good. Very good information. Yeah, we know that they operate outside of the law and within what they think they want to do is what happens. But we have to have an avenue somewhere, somehow, to overcome this. Some people have done it. Some people, it's going to be harder for them to do it. Some people just don't have the gift of being able to speak to a police officer out of fear or whatever the case may be. Perhaps they've been in jail before and they just, I don't want to go there again. But yeah, that's part of the reason why I want the PKTF to actually get more involved with talking to the sheriff's office and educating not just them, but everybody that's within that office, all of the secretarial workers and everybody that goes out on the job and does.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should actually go for discrimination. I feel like we get discriminated against out there. And if everybody else can do it, women can do it, blacks can do it, everybody disability, because for me personally, David, you may not know this about me, but they're child trafficking our little girl. I mean, we asked for AD access to court. They hung up and took our rights away from us. And I'm like, what did, you know, so when I say they're like literally just doing what they want to do, they're doing what they want to do. I've stated law after law out of their own daggone codes, and they won't even follow those. So it's just,
Yeah.
Yes.
Before I lose my train of thought here, just want to invite David, if you would like to, of course, go to the YouTube channel, Peacekeeping Task Force, see what the liaisons have been working on since March. We've made considerable progress. We have more than 30 states that are in attendance. We don't yet have a liaison for Kentucky. I'm kind of standing in for that. But if you would like, you can definitely join. Just fill out a simple enrollment form and Kathy will add you to the roster and send you to the invitations. You can see all of the things we've discussed already. What we're realizing is it's not that, it's a kind of a blanket statement. Again, just to assume that the establishment is rogue. It's that it's a poor education, lack of education, and an unwillingness to adjust their training model, because they do not want to let go of their citizens that they have. This is what all the evidence has shown. At the end of the day, and at the start of every new day, they want the maximum amount of participation and constituency that they can muster and maintain. This is the rogue behavior that you're experiencing. Not that they're just not admitting, and they're guilty by omission of the facts, that's really what they're wanting to maintain, is that stranglehold and that citizenry that they've created. That's what you're feeling. And then when the Supreme Court rules, in favor of the difference between public and private, that's evidence, if not straight out proof, that the establishment recognizes a difference in jurisdiction between private and public. But the states are not. The states are really the culprits, as you start to realize. Because just to say the Constitution, well, which one at the federal level? Because each state has a constitution itself as well. So you're kind of seeing where the states are running interference of what the federal government is even attempting to do right. That making a distinction federal. Why is it that these law enforcement in some areas are not adherent to Supreme Court rulings? Well, because the state has its own constitution and its own business to attend and their own citizenry. So that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, David, it's pretty exciting. I mean, we get a lot of wonderful feedback, and we have a lot of great participation, not just in the States, but worldwide too. So hopefully you can attend and share your thoughts. And I'll definitely showcase your concerns too about things that building the interface with law enforcement. I yield. I do have to jump off here too. But
Can I say
Okay.
something?
One of my concerns is, I don't know if y'all watched what happened at the United Nations, but they are straight trying to take our sovereignty. They don't believe in it.
Hey, David, may I real quick? My hand's been up.
Go ahead.
As far as Mattermost, Bud, I can get you, since you're a member of the Treasury, I can get you a DMS server account, and that will get you on to be able to see pretty much what has been offloaded from Mattermost onto a document management server. If you want that, just reach out to me and I'll get it to you. I yield. I've got to hop off here, guys. So
Okay. Thanks,
thank you
Justin.
all.
Hey, Justin, I need help with that for Tom, getting him on the DMS. Can you do that, or is that something I need to do, or something? Terry sent me the paperwork. Do I just fill it out and give it back, or do I need to go through you, or?
He's supposed to fill it out.
And then I just send it back to Terry?
He can send it to me and I can forward it to Terry, or you can. It's one of us.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm free to stay, even though Joe and Justin are getting off. If y'all still want to stay, if not, we can adjourn.
David on Hart County. Just one thing I want to say, Joe. Anything that goes against the Constitution is not lawful. It's written, it's common sense, it's with the Supreme Court rulings. It just seems to me that the standing that the PKTF has is going to carry a lot more weight than if I walk into the Hart County Sheriff's Office and say, look, you guys are really screwing up and you need to get it together. You need to start doing this, this, and this. They're going to laugh at me and make me leave. But somebody from the PKTF that walks in with the appropriate paperwork showing that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and it makes no difference if you have a Kentucky Constitution. If it goes against the original Constitution, it's not valid. And it just seems to me like you guys have the format and the ability to step up and do that. Well, let me say, I hope that the PKTF would be able to do that. I'm going to yield, and thanks guys for listening. I really appreciate being able to vent and say a few things. I have no doubt that the assembly is going to keep growing and to make it. I guess we all just wish that it was happening a little bit quicker. Thanks all. Have a great night.
Thanks
Thank you,
for all
David.
your input.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Great meeting.
Motion to adjourn. We reconvene in 2 weeks on. Need to get a calendar. October 8th. Second me, daggone it.
I second.
All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.